Okay, do you want to introduce it? I think you should introduce. I think you'll feel more comfortable if you introduce.
No, you do
Like,
it. It's your podcast.
No, you. No, this
No,
is.
you do.
No, you.
No, you.
No, because you got weird when I tried to introduce. This is like a special episode. Remember how you said you want to like co-host with me?
Welcome back to Talia's podcast, featuring Jackie. How was that?
Amazing. So everyone, on this week's episode, I have my most nervous guest, but also my best friend guest. So this is a very special occasion because actually when I had the vision for this podcast, I saw us doing one. So I thought she'd be the opening guest, but no, she's like episode 20. But that's okay because I still love her anyway, and it's going to be amazing.
Better late than never, isn't it?
It's always like a better late than never type of situation in life. So she thinks I'm getting a bit serious, but
This is the most serious I've ever seen you in my life.
because she just knows me as this like unserious person. But like for me, I'm not being that serious. It's just like she just is like making it awkward for me.
Actually, one time you were serious with me and I really got freaked out, remember?
Yeah, we have to talk about that. Recently, I've been starting my episodes of like how I know the person because like most people come on, I've like met in a funny way. So we obviously have to talk about how we met. So also I call her Bunny. So like if I say Bunny, don't be like confused because like if you look at her, she's like really a bunny.
But no one knows that I call you Sunny.
So we have to like clarify this in the beginning just in case people are like, what are you saying? So Bunny and I met because I moved to Austin almost a year ago now. Was it 2 years ago? No, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I moved to Austin. Damn! I know. I was like 1, 2, I don't know. 2 years ago, I moved. And I decided that I was 21. Well, I didn't decide that. I was 21. and I thought, okay, well, I'm still like young and fun, so I'm gonna live in college accommodation because I was like in the UK, the degree was 3 years. So I was like, even though I was coming to work, I was like, I'm gonna live in student accommodation because I can meet people, have fun, live the American college lifestyle because I always had visions of doing that. Anyway, so I decided to live in this apartment across the road from campus. And it was with 5 other people in this building called Waterloo. And I was like, obviously, I have to live in Waterloo because London vibes. So actually, before we arrive, all these girls start following me on Instagram because we get to know who our roommates are. And all of them follow me on Instagram. I'm one of them. And I click on her and I'm like, oh, damn, she's got like 60,000 followers. Of course, she wouldn't follow me. But I was like, oh, she's one of those girls who just thinks that she's too good for me. But little will she know that like I'm great. So just wait till she meets me vibes. I also thought you were Greek because I saw Russian letters, but at the time I thought it was Greek. So I was like, she's Greek. So cute. Anyway, okay, I'll let you tell another part of it if you want, because we can like go back and forth.
Okay.
So the next time was when you came in. Do you remember? Okay.
I know.
I'm just checking. Okay.
Okay. So then Talia basically meets all of them. She moves in and she meets all of them, other like the 4 roommates. And I was at work. I worked at a fitness place. And my fitness place that I worked at, it was just like an 8-hour shift. Like I would always be exhausted after work. Like I like hated working there. And so I didn't even know. I just did not keep up. Oh, I forgot. I literally the day before I was on, or the other roommates were on Instagram and they were going through Talia's profile. And I was like, she looks like such. No, I don't know if I said it. I don't remember.
No, you did say it.
Okay, I said it.
No one else thought that apart from you.
Okay, I was like, wow, she like kind of looks like bitchy for her like profile, which like obviously like could not be further from the truth. But I literally thought based off her profile that she was like this. I'm trying to, can I find the picture while I keep explaining that I thought that
Yeah,
like
of
made you
course.
look. Okay. So
But
basically,
was it like bitchy in like a sexy way, or was it like a bitchy in a way that was like, I'm
it was like
scared?
no, it was like bitchy in a sexy way.
Okay. I'm glad that you were
Like,
like turned on by me from day one.
yeah, it was like a good vibe for sure, but it was like one where I was like, oh, she's probably not gonna be nice. Okay, it was like this vibe.
Oh yeah. Damn.
This to me screams like, don't get in my face, like, and I was like, ooh, like, ooh,
Seductress.
ooh, you know what I'm saying? Ooh.
I had an
Anyways,
era where I wouldn't smile on any of my pictures and people were like, you look really unfriendly. And I was like, okay, I'm going to put more of me laughing. And then it got to the point where I was like, all me being like, and I was like, now I don't feel like seductive. So now I'm trying to like do a mix because really I'm all those things.
you can always do like
Anyway,
a soft smile.
it doesn't suit me. That's why I don't do it. It's like either I'm one or the other.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay, maybe like don't do your eyes. We'll have a training session later. Okay.
okay.
So basically, fast forward, I come home and I'm all tired. I walk into the front door, and lo and behold, it's like my roommates, and I've already been living with them for like a couple weeks. Talia like moved in. She was the last person who moved in. So I obviously have not met her. I walk in and she's like in the kitchen with this random guy, and they're making pasta, which we will talk about who the random guy was. But at the time, I was like, literally, who is she and who is he? And immediately I'm just like not shy. And so I was like, can I have some of that pasta when you make it? That was like one of the first things. I didn't even like really say hello that much. I was just like, oh, did y'all make a lot? Can I have some? Because I would come home like super hungry. So I was like rude. And then fast forward like literally only 5 minutes. And I'm like still in the living room and all the other roommates are there. And suddenly I realized I forgot to put back the key from the gym. Like there's a lockbox outside the gym. And when you close, you're supposed to put the key inside the lockbox and leave. I accidentally took it with me. It's like 12 a.m. at this point, and I'm like, it's like a fireable offense. So I had to immediately go back. And so
So she gets on the floor and she starts having a tantrum. Now I come from the UK where people are pretty like put together and polite, especially when you like first meet someone. People are very like, they won't make loud sounds or like they'll be very like, holding back. This girl was like on the floor, like yelling, crying, screaming, throwing up. Like I was like, oh my gosh, she's like open and like crazy. I love that. So she's like crying, and I was like, I had a friend over, bear in mind, and we're like cooking dinner, and I was like, do you want me to come with you to the gym to drop it off? And you were like, okay. So I was like to my friend Nathan, I was like, sorry, you're gonna have to leave. Or like, I think we ate first quickly, but we were like, we gotta go. Because it was like already like past 11 p.m. And you were like crying. So I was like, okay, let's go. So basically, I was really excited to like see Austin because like I wanted to just like drive around and see and also just like see what this guy was about because I was like, I'm already interested in her because she's not like other girls. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, then basically we go down to the garage where she's parked her Mazda 6. Won't disclose your number plate, don't worry. Even though I don't know it. Then sorry, I can like look it up. Anyway, so basically we're like immediately as we get in the car, we just start talking. And you start like telling me everything about your life.
it was
You
more like a trauma dump.
It was
An
like a bit of a. It was so you were like, by the way, I love Harry Styles. I love mushrooms. I'm a virgin. You were like saying everything about yourself. You were like, I hate men. I hate all the people at this college. And I was like, say less. Forward slash tell me more. Like I love this like openness. Just like it was so refreshing because like even to this day, like you never really get that. Like people were open, but you were just like, I'm just gonna say it how it is. These are the colors I like. These are the foods I like. This is how I am.
Apparently, I like the
I
corner
oh,
store.
oh you were like, I only have 5 friends. Um, like I don't need anyone. Like I'm very like either I like you or I don't. And I was like, oh shit. I hope she likes me because like I wonder if I'll get on that palm of 5. I wonder.
It's like 3 now, including you.
It's like survival of the fittest out here. I'm kidding.
For real.
Anyway, so I was just like really intrigued. I was like, also I just moved across the world, so like to have someone that I was like relating to like that just felt really good because I was like, oh my god, like she's so great. I don't know if I said that much. What was the ratio? We always do the ratio. Was it like 90-10?
I want to say something that about like half a year into knowing Talia, our talking ratio was me talking 80% of the time and Talia talking 20% of the time. And it wasn't until literally like spring semester of after she moved almost a year later where it finally was like 50-50.
I don't know if it ever got to 50-50.
No, no.
It like goes through fit, like it changes. Because sometimes I'm like more wanting to listen, like it's nothing on
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to say a broader thing of why we're like going to so much details because Bunny is like, I already told this to her, but she's like actually been one of my greatest teachers in this life. And I've done a lot of spiritual things, I've had a lot of mentors, coaches, all these things. But the way you can learn through like friendship and people like Bunny in your life is like literally crazy. So keep listening because it's pretty touching. For
Ooh.
sure. For sure.
Ooh.
Ooh. Yeah. Stay tuned. Anyway, so yeah, then it was like 90-10. Because I think I shared a little bit about me, but like it was more,
You shared a bit. Just I think like
what did I say?
you shared a little bit like family things and then you shared a little bit of how like a little bit of your relationship with men too.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I think that's like what we connected on is not
Yeah.
having ever like a deep connection with men. And I guess you were hurt more by men than I was. Like I never got that deep enough to be hurt by a man, but I just like observed everyone else and I was
Mm,
like, ew. I mean,
yeah.
physically, actually, yeah. I mean, actually, emotionally, I feel like you were more hurt as well. Like I wasn't emotionally hurt by men, but like physically, I feel like we were on the same level by like that topic. So that's what we initially related on. And then it literally took us like 3 weeks after that or less to get into a state where we wouldn't do anything without each other.
Yeah. So I want to say the transition was funny because like I could tell you were like not wanting to let me in, but I was also like, I know that we're gonna be like this. Like I already saw it. And I remember she went to Houston for like 2 days to go to the Lady Gaga concert. And I remember I was really upset because I also had another friend come stay that I met in Costa Rica, and then you both left, and I was like, I just felt really sad, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like missing her, and I only just met her, and you just like weren't missing me back, because I would be like, I'd be like texting you, and like I just wouldn't really hear, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, that's fine. Um, but anyway, pretty much after you got back, I was like, okay, this girl's like my bestie, and
Yeah.
we also realized or felt like we had a past life connection for sure. And for me, that's something that I've always believed in and encountered. And like, yeah, it was very obvious, but maybe you want to speak a bit about how you felt about that.
Yeah. So I was never spiritual, I guess. I mean, like speaking it out loud. Maybe there was, no, I don't even have tendencies of spirituality. I think I can be empathetic towards spirituality at the time. Like I was like ready to listen, like was open to it, things like that. Are we gonna talk about what I think you want to talk about? The past life hypnosis?
Yeah, you can go into that now.
Okay, because I
Yeah.
was like, so there's this place called Third Eye Lounge in Austin, and Talia would be going to these classes every day, and there were like these yoga classes or like these sound bath classes and like these things. And I was kind of like, okay, like Talia, you go do whatever you're doing. I'll see you later for dinner. Like I would never really go with her. And then there was one class, and it was called Past Life Regressional Hypnosis. And like it was the first class that I have ever been to, and it was like an intermediate level class. Like I could have gone to like a simple little cute yoga, but instead I was like, no, like I'll agree to go to this. So we went. I had no expectations of anything. And I'm going to long story short it, but during the class, Talia saw me and her like I was actually hypnotized. Like I was hypnotized. I was fully under, like it was surreal. And I was like this Tarzan man. I was this like Polynesian king or something. And Talia got like shot in the head. I don't know. There was like some crazy stories. But Talia saw me in her hypnosis.
But we already knew before. We were already seeing it before we did that class.
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah,
I
but
I already knew.
yeah, I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But after that
Anyway,
class,
yeah, after that class.
let me talk. Yeah, after that class, it was like pretty evident that, I mean, again, like I didn't really believe in that stuff, but it was just like my comfort level with Talia and just like, I don't know, like unconditional love that I felt from Talia. I don't know.
Adorable babe.
It's something that you don't just like see every day or meet every day with people that you've just met, especially in your adult life, especially people that you haven't met or have been friends with since when you were young. Meeting people in your adult life and feeling that is really impressive. So
I want you to speak a bit about what it was like to open to that, because as I was saying, you were really like closed. Because I've had a lot of, well, obviously our friendship's really special, but I'm quite like open. Like I'm like so ready to like be affectionate, love people up. But it definitely took you a bit of time to be like open to that. So maybe you want to speak a bit about what was going on for you.
I, d- I definitely think it was a combination of things. I had like a best friend at the time that was like a childhood best friend. And I think I kind of closed myself off from having any other female like close connections because I was like, oh, that's my best friend. That's my only best friend. Like, that's it. And so I think that was one of the reasons that I did that, which and it doesn't make any sense, but I mean, I don't know. And then the second thing is I just like haven't met any friends since high school. And so I thought this was one of those like temporary situations. And it was just like, I was like, is it even worth it? You know, if she's just gonna like leave sometime later or something. But like in terms of like leave and not keep in contact.
Oh, no, no, I know what you're saying. I'm just
Yeah.
like, it's funny because like I did leave, but like that's fine. Um, anyway, so yeah, but what was that process like for you of like, I guess, accepting and also just like, yeah, just opening to that?
I think it was your persistence. like I
Yeah.
mean, to be honest, like if you would have given up after like a week, we definitely would not have like progressed as close as we are now. But like Talia would keep, you know, I don't know. You also have to remember I had really weird patterns, like living patterns when we first met. Like I would stay in bed till 2 p.m. and things like that. And I would like barely leave the apartment. And I was just like, I wouldn't say depressed because I don't think I was. I just don't think I like fully was living. I was just kind of
Yeah, I mean, I've never experienced someone like, because I would like love hanging out with her, and then I would like be waiting for her to wake up, and then it would get to like 2 p.m. and I'd be like, is she alive? Like,
Yeah,
what's
I would
happening?
I would wake up super late and I would go to bed super late.
Yeah, and in the beginning, I would literally, I had a job, but I would stay up with her watching Game of Thrones and talking till literally like 3 or 4 a.m. So I had this period where I was like literally not sleeping. And then I said to her, you need to change your schedule because I can't do this anymore.
And then it slowly
Oh.
started happening to where Talia like would tell me when to go to bed.
Yeah, I'd be
Like,
like, okay, it's time, get off your phone.
I know. She'd literally tell me to get off my phone or like grab my phone sometimes. And I'd be like, okay. And then I just go to bed.
Yeah,
But hey, I
so
needed it.
yeah, now you've like never gone back to that since.
No.
So
And I was like that all the time. You could not catch me waking up before 11 a.m. in the morning.
yeah, now she's like going to Pilates at 6 a.m. That's even earlier than I wake up. So
No, I don't do that anymore.
yeah,
I
but you've
switched.
done but you've like done that
Yeah,
self-motivated for a bit.
true.
Anyway, I think what I really want to say to anyone who's listening is that I feel like people often don't talk about the power of friendship. Like it's always such a focus on romantic connections.
Even talking about it, like my friendship with Talia literally made me open up to my first romantic connection ever. Like without Talia, I don't even know if that would have happened because not only was I fearful of like physical touch, but there's like other things. Like I just wasn't open to, I guess, vulnerability with
Mm,
other people. And I wouldn't say that I was like closed off as a person because clearly I was really open, but I was like almost open to the point where the book is like bent backwards and like
mm,
the two front pages, the front page, the back page, like make a rainbow, but there's like a gap in the middle, and this gap is like the actual information that I don't tell anyone, but I just tell like surface level information to everyone. Because to me, like drama or like my opinions or like world views, all this to me is not a deep conversation, and like
mm.
I'm very open in that. But the deepest conversation is when that book makes a 360 and that gap between the front page and the back page. Look at this analogy.
I'm like, what is this coming from?
I need like a book to demonstrate, but you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. Maybe I'll use a makeup palette.
Go for it, babes.
This is what I mean. Pretend like these are the pages and like this space is like what I really feel. And like what I mean by what I really feel is like, I guess not just like my traumas, but how I behave and in my everyday with those traumas and like things like that. That I just like people be like, oh, why do you wake up so late? Oh, why don't you want to have sleepovers with people? Oh, why are you always late all the time? Oh, why are you this? And like all those behaviors are like secrets of how I feel inside. They just like reflect. Anyway, what I'm saying is that like I didn't share these small things with anyone and they didn't really affect me. But Talia, like my friendship with Talia opened me up to sharing those things. And then eventually I was comfortable enough sharing it with a man, which was like the biggest issue of my life at the time was like, wow, like I could never imagine myself doing that. I was so anti-men. I was like man hater, not even eater. I'd rather die than eat that. But like man hater in the
Mm,
year like 2020 to 2022, was it? Like I just could not force myself to be comfortable with a man, and having that friendship with you throughout the years, like your persistence and your like you not giving up on me even when sometimes I wouldn't treat you the best. Like I would yell at Talia. I have videos like and I have like live pictures of like me and Talia. And it wasn't like, here's the thing. It's not like me yelling at Talia. It's like it sounds like it's horrible. I mean, it wasn't the best, but it was like playful.
It was funny when like our other roommates like said something. For me, it was a process of actually learning to speak out because I think before I had habits of like loving so much that I would like allow people to just like do whatever. Like you've seen it in me. Like I would allow people to do whatever because I love them so much. And like I'm very connected to unconditional love that I was like, yeah, that's fine. Like da da da. But I think I went on a journey of like learning what isn't okay and how to actually communicate that. So at that time, our other roommates had to communicate it, but as it wasn't nasty or malicious. Bunny's just a very like intense speaker, and I think sometimes her words would come out a little bit intense when
Yeah,
like
like
I'm quite gentle and I'm like, it doesn't need to be all the time I'm shouting, but like it didn't come from like a bad place. So it wasn't anything
yeah.
bad, but even like anything that's coming up for you in your relationships, like even if it's nothing too terrible, like it still might be an initiation for you to say something if it is actually bothering you, even if it's not them being malicious. Because most of the time
You
it's actually not.
you'd be surprised, but right now I'm struggling with like me being avoidant, like the avoidant style in my relationship, which like you wouldn't think that that's going on, but considering my personality, I don't know. I feel like people can go through different phases. Like they can be super open and like handle conflict really well and communicate. And
Mm.
then over time, you can like definitely go backwards and something happens and sends you into this like weird introverted state.
That's a really important thing to say is that like these attachment styles and the way you relate to people can change so much from like person to person. Like the way I was with you, like I've never been like that with anyone before. But that's the thing, like people will come into your life to mirror something back to you. And I think our friendship was one of the first ones where I really got to like use it as an initiation into stepping into my power. And like you really allowed me to do that because of how much you would like listen and encourage me to say how I feel. Because I remember in the beginning, you'd be like, tell me, like, if something's bothering you. And like, I literally couldn't because I was so used to like hiding. I didn't want to upset people. I think I also had a fear of abandonment. I felt like if I said how I really felt, someone would like not want to be my friend because they would think I was being too much or too
That's what
difficult.
happens. That was what happens to me all the time. Lol. Like I'll say how I feel with my even current friends, and then it turns into a giant thing. And I think that it never has to be a giant thing because I think people forget that the reason you're talking something out with someone is because you love them and you want to continue the friendship, not because you want to leave, and not because it's not about starting drama. It's not about, I don't know, making someone feel bad. It's just about how can we continue to love each other. We have to talk about it, you know? So I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I wanted you to do because I there was times like I knew I made you feel a certain way and I was like, why is she not saying something?
Because you're so open and able to communicate things. Like, yeah, you might be showing up as avoidant now, but like, as you say, for you, like speaking things out isn't even vulnerability that much. And I think
Yeah.
you forget because you're just you that like most of the world hide things for like 20 plus years. Okay. So Bunny just told a whole story that I don't know if I'm gonna include because she forgot what the point in her story was.
I can't believe I just told the whole story. Anyway.
A lot of things came up in the story that I think are useful, just about like being able to speak your truth, being able to communicate in relationship when something isn't aligning with you or isn't happy. And also, sometimes things are unspoken, even with me and you. Like, this is the power that women have is actually like feeling what other people are feeling. And that happened with me and you a lot. It was like we didn't have to be together, but we would feel each other. You could feel if I was off, or you could feel what was happening. And so, really leaning into that superpower and being like, I can feel something's off. Let's talk about it. And like bringing that out. Because I think that's what happens a lot of the time is like we have this dis-ease in our body. And a lot of the times your relationships are actually making you sick in different ways because you're not speaking out what is happening in your relationships and they're there to mirror something to you. So the mirror that we had was so powerful, as I was saying, is because it actually initiated me into declaring things out. So basically what happened was is that Jackie's dad and sister moved. So basically, we were like this, and then she basically got a boyfriend and like started spending more time out of the apartment. And during that time, that was really hard for me because I was healing a really intense anxious attachment style, which I had to Jackie. And she was so understanding of that throughout. And I think she really helped me heal that because we openly say, like, we were codependent, like, we were. And I think there's this idea that codependency is a really negative thing and it's really toxic. And I remember we'd be like, but we're not toxic. Like, we just love each other, you know? Like, this isn't a bad thing. And I think, as she was saying before, like, you can weave into and out of things and there's no fixed thing, like, everything's fluid. And I think if you are experiencing codependency and maybe you don't even think it's bad, just know that like it's okay. And that actually I learned something in my Tantra course, which is really powerful for me, is that like actually as a woman, like codependency is actually biologically wired into us. Like when you're with a man, or even if you're like living with someone on like a survival level, your brain chemistry starts to change around that person, which helps you, which causes you to experience these feelings of like codependency. And like my teacher was like, as long as you're like aware of it and are like holding yourself in love, like it's okay. And I was like, you know what? Actually, maybe you're right. Like I had just moved to a new country, like we were so close, you were family to me. Like of course I was gonna feel this like super strong attachment to you, you know, like sue me. Anyway, so I started going to more things and like kind of doing different things because Jackie wasn't there. So it was again perfect timing for me to just start like exploring things. And I attracted a man into my, like a lot of things started to happen for me. And I went to Awaken Your Higher Self, which changed my life in many ways. And in it, he spoke about love being freedom and not attachment. And a lot about declaring your truth and like declaring your power. And I think I knew that I had to have a conversation with you because I remember actually at Awaken, you went to stay somewhere and you didn't text me. Do you remember that? 2 days in a row. Do you remember that? Your phone was off and you told me you went out late at night and you were like, I'll text you when I get there. And then I woke up.
Oh,
Do you remember?
I remember something about telling you that I would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like again, like now it sounds like crazy because obviously I live on the other side of the world, but like at the time we had this like really close friendship,
Yeah, like
and
it wasn't even just like about the friendship. Like it was to the point like I would text Talia even if like she was apart and be like, "What do you want for dinner?" Or like it would be like we were like living like the sit. Like if she wanted to go for a walk, I'm going with her. You know,
yeah,
if I wanted to go concert, Talia's coming with me. I've taken Talia to like so many concerts.
we've been on
Like
so many adventures, and it was such a beautiful time in my life. And like I know that's exact. I needed to be seen and felt, and like have someone pay me that type of attention to know that that was possible for me. Because before I'd never experienced that in my life, and like it was such a powerful thing to experience and so beautiful. Anyway, so after this event, I knew I had to have a conversation with you. So maybe you can speak about how that was for you.
yeah, that was the first time Talia was actually serious, like with me in terms of like just telling me how she feels, but in a serious matter. We were like sitting in my bed, and I don't exactly recall the conversation. I just know generally it was about setting boundaries. And it was the first time where she was not laughing. I mean, I like made her laugh because I was nervous, and she was like, haha, but like she was not joking around. And I got like scared a bit because I've never seen Talia like that. There was clearly some things that she was not super happy with me about that she didn't maybe even recognize because she was so blinded by like our friendship, and like she just looked past it. That Awaken made her realize that, you know, her worth, and that she doesn't want to be treated a certain way, or she doesn't want me to say certain things or raise my voice or something, or do, or she's not comfortable with me doing certain things. I don't know. And so we had that conversation, and that was the first time I was like, like
And maybe you could speak a bit about how it felt for you, because I think whilst you encouraged me to always speak up, actually when I did, and even when I do now, it's still hard for you. And I think for any relationships people are experiencing, I can imagine that like when people do work on themselves and have shifts, even though as a partner or a friend you're like encouraging them, actually when they're changing, it can be a little bit like, oh, wow, you know? So like
It's
maybe you can speak a little.
definitely, yeah, I am definitely all talk about that. I do it and I encourage the other person to do it, but it's not just Talia. Like when my family does it, when Talia does it, when Michael does it, um, when my other friends do it, I just retract. And actually, that's exactly, I think, what I did after our conversation. I think I was avoidant for a bit and
Mm,
I didn't really know how to behave around you for a bit because I was so caught off guard because you've never done that before. Maybe if I had met you and you were already this like not
firm.
confrontational, but like if you
Yeah,
were
it's like
already this,
firmness. Yeah.
yeah, like firm person, then I would be used to it, but you were never like that. And so I think
So
that
what did
firmness,
that bring? What did that bring up in you? Like, was it fear or was it just like shock?
the firmness almost blindsided me because that means that you've been feeling this way so strongly for a while and we've just been
Mm,
living and you haven't been telling me. So it's
mm,
yeah, even now when people speak to me like in a firm way, to me, I'm like, why didn't you just calmly tell me this earlier, bits by pieces? Why instead are we like having this really firm conversation about a lot of things? And it's like overwhelming, I think.
mm,
Overwhelming. You feel like you don't really know the person who's in front of you as well as you thought you did because I thought everything between us was so transparent. Like I would tell you everything and I thought you would tell me everything, but there were clearly things that you weren't telling me. And
mm,
so I think that is one of those like fear aspects that
mm,
like wow, like it you never gave me an ultimatum. It wasn't like if you don't change, we're not going to be friends, but it was definitely like you have to do this or things are going to be bad. You know, or you have to like
mm.
respect me or things are
I
going to be bad.
think this is so powerful. Again, I don't know if you realize how powerful these conversations are, because just even being open about how you feel and open about what you experience through this process is so amazing to share for people. Because I think as someone who didn't honor their boundaries and honor their desires, it's actually not fair on the other person because here's Bunny thinking we're in this transparent friendship. And at the time, I did too, because for what I was used to, it was super transparent. But sometimes things are so deeply coming up that you don't even realize. So it's like, it kind of goes both ways, you know, like there's no right or wrong, good or bad, victim or villain. It's like we're both people just who have love and are trying to relate. And relationships can be so weird and hard and sticky, but like if if you really like are able to have these conversations, that's where the growth that's like meant to come out of the relationship happens.
That's true. I also think it can be mistaken for a victim complex, like what I'm telling you, because here you are opening up to what you're finally upset about. And that like tone and that the power that you have when you tell me, whether it's like you tell me, my family, Michael, like I immediately am like so shocked
Mm,
that it hurts my feelings. And
mm,
I find myself finding something to grasp onto to get upset about. You know, even
mm.
if it's just the mere fact, like, why didn't you tell me earlier? Or like just something dumb. I think like
Yeah.
definitely that fear can turn into like a victim complex that I see in myself.
Yeah, but
Um,
I'm saying even the fact you're aware of that and owning up to it doesn't make you a victim. Because people who are in victim, they don't even, they just blame the other person because that's what being a victim is. And also, we're all just human. Like, no matter how spiritual or aware, how much work you've done, relationships are literally there to trigger you. Whether you are spiritual or not, that is literally what they're there to do. Like, the way you meet people is crazy. Like, what are the odds of us living in the same apartment, like from across the world? Like, there are no mistakes, and you changed my life, and I changed yours, and that's beautiful. So, any interaction you have, whether it's for a season or a lifetime, like they're there to change the trajectory of your life. Because even you listening to this podcast can change your life in some way. So, I think the power of like us having these conversations, even if you were getting triggered, was knowing that we have unconditional love. That like even if I was saying something or you were saying something, we still had this love, and like we were just trying to find a way that we both felt okay because we love each other. So I want to speak a bit about like unconditional love for you, because you are one of like the most like, even though you annoy me a lot sometimes, and we're open about that now, I just know like how loving you are. And like, I think existing on earth when you're like that can be hard, because like a lot of the times that's not reciprocated, and that's no one's fault. It's their own trauma and their own experience of love. But I think the reason why what we have is so powerful is because we are both like that. Like we were both like, you would pick me up from the airport. Like I was just like, wow, like I'm the one who always does that for people. Like it's so nice to have someone who does that back. So maybe you want to speak into a bit about how that feels for you, because I know sometimes you say that you find it hard, or like, finding people like that in your life, and also just like, yeah, what it is for you to love someone unconditionally.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that that's part of the reason why I have had 5 friends and now I have 3, is because for me, it's like unconditional love or nothing. I really, and I'm not saying this is a right way to live your life. I just find myself constantly getting disappointed or just not like having fall throughs with a lot of people I meet. And obviously, it's so people will say, do things for other people and do them and like do them and have no expectations back. But it does become that's a very hard point to get to. And honestly, I don't think it's a healthy point to get to. You never want to do something for someone that they wouldn't do back for you. I mean, why would you associate yourself with that type of person? And so I don't know. I just began after the thing is that Talia and I like almost instantly had this like
Like you
I
started making me breakfast like
yeah, I just
every
started
day.
yeah, I just started to do this and I did it for like a year. And then Talia, we would make dinner and I would make
That's like
Talia.
every time we go to the store, do you want something? Or like anything we needed, like we were there. And I think we were both emotional about it, because it's like, how often do you like find that and also have the time to like spend doing that for someone? Because our lives get so busy, but we had this like frozen time where like it was just you and me, and we would like every day we would like reflect on our friendship. Remember, we'd be like, things we don't like about each other, things that like how do we feel about this, like really like going into how we feel. Like it was literally like, I know that you don't call yourself spiritual, but for me it was like so spiritual, because it's literally just like going into things, like going
Yeah.
in. That's what it is. It's just like seeing things beyond like what the surface is showing you. You're probably the first person who's come on this podcast that isn't like outwardly spiritual. And I think for me, my intention for doing this podcast isn't only to have spiritual people, because as I said, I think we all have wisdom to share. That's why I made this. And also, like, whatever you call yourself is just a label, but really, just how you go into things and you communicate and you love unconditionally, like, that is a spiritual practice. And
Thank
so,
you.
like, that's why even one of my greatest teachers couldn't hype you up enough for that. Because this podcast wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for you. I loved recording this episode. I hope you enjoyed getting insight into me and Jackie's friendship. And next week we have part 2, where we dive into Jackie's social media journey of almost having 1 million followers. And also we will talk more about body image and lots of other things. So come back next week, and thanks so much for being here. Let us know what you thought about the episode.